He hadn't blinked in hours. The light from the house still flickered behind him as if mocking the way his world had fallen apart. The bottle of whiskey in his hand was warm now, but he didn't care. Daniel Carter used to be someone, used to own a skyline office in Manhattan, used to have a name that people whispered with respect in the halls of power. He was the golden son of Wall Street, a strategist with a mind like war and charm like honey. But now, he was just a man sitting on the edge of a dirty sidewalk in the rain, watching the life he built burn from the inside out. One mistake. That's all it took. Trusting his best friend, Lucas, with his company's back end while he juggled a billion-dollar merger. Daniel had no reason to doubt the man he'd known since college. Until one morning, he woke to find frozen accounts, federal agents at his door, and the company he'd founded with his blood and soul suddenly tied to embezzlement, tax fraud, and international laundering. Lucas vanished the same day. Just like that, everything disappeared. His fortune, his company, his reputation. And then she left, Sophia, his wife of 4 years, his light, his calm. Her eyes had turned from love to fear overnight. She didn't want to be dragged down with him. She didn't say it directly, but her suitcase packed itself. She said he changed, that he was broken, that she needed air, that she'd never signed up to be with someone drowning, and he, who once could silence a boardroom with one look, couldn't even beg her to stay. Daniel didn't remember when he stopped sleeping in beds. Motels became his norm, couch surfing with old friends who offered pity but not trust. Then the silence started. No more calls, no more texts. His name was a liability even to people who used to toast to it. The media tore him apart, painting him as the mastermind, the greedy villain who used Lucas as a scapegoat. Every asset was seized, every door closed. The pain didn't hit all at once. It was slow, creeping like frostbite. He stopped counting days. Food became rare. Shame became constant. But even then, something in him refused to die. Some part of him that remembered who he was. Some core that said, "Get up!" So he did. He got a job at a construction site under a fake name. Daniel became Mike, a quiet laborer who showed up early, left late, and never spoke unless spoken to. The pay was low, the work backbreaking, but for once in his life, he didn't feel like a fraud. He had nothing to offer but his sweat, and oddly, that gave him peace. It was on one of those blistering summer afternoons that he met her, Lena Hart. She wasn't like Sophia. Sophia had been polished, elegant, soft-spoken. Lena was raw, rough around the edges, with grease on her jeans and sunburn on her cheeks. She worked in the canteen truck that parked near the site. First day she saw him, she called him Sad Eyes and handed him a free sandwich. He said nothing, just nodded. Second day, she offered coffee and asked if he had family around. He shook his head. By the end of the week, she was sitting across from him during lunch breaks, asking small questions that he reluctantly answered. She had a laugh that made the dust in his chest shift. Lena had been through hell too. Single mom, abusive ex, working 3 jobs just to keep her daughter in school. Her voice carried scars, but her eyes refused to surrender. She didn't look at him like the world did. She didn't see Daniel Carter, the disgraced tycoon. She saw Mike, just Mike. And somehow that made him want to stay alive. He found himself thinking about her at night. About her daughter, Aaliyah, who waved at him shyly every evening when she came to help her mom clean the truck. About how Lena once told him that love wasn't soft. It was steel wrapped in skin. That if he really wanted to start again, he had to bleed for it. Then, one Friday evening, it happened. They were closing the truck when a group of local punks came to hassle her. Drunk, loud, spitting filth. One grabbed Lena's wrist. Daniel didn't think he reacted. 1 punch. 2, blood, shouts. It ended with sirens and a broken rib. Lena patched him up in her tiny apartment over the auto shop she lived behind. That night, something shifted between them. Their hands brushed. She looked at him, and for the first time, he looked back without guilt, without shame, and then she kissed him. It wasn't passionate. It wasn't pretty. It was soft and aching, as if she was asking him to feel again, and he did. He hadn't touched someone in so long without the weight of his past haunting him. With Lena, he could breathe, he could cry, he did cry, and she held him through it all. The days that followed were slow, quiet, intimate. They didn't speak of love. They didn't make promises. But their silences began to mean more than words. He started helping her fix things around the truck, picking up Aaliyah from school, saving money. He told her about Sophia one night, about the life he had before. She didn't flinch, just looked him in the eye and said, "You're not him anymore, so stop punishing yourself." But the past wasn't done with him yet. One morning, as he walked to work, a black car rolled up beside him. Two men in suits stepped out. One handed him a folder. Inside were photos of Lucas alive, thriving, partying in Monaco. The note read, "We can help you clear your name, but we need something in return." They were from a private firm working on corporate cleanups. They'd been watching Daniel, waiting. They believed he was set up. They believed Lucas had helped people still in the system. If Daniel cooperated, went undercover, and helped them expose the rot, they'd reopen his case, maybe even restore some of what he'd lost. But it would mean walking back into the fire. He sat with it for days, told no one. Lena sensed something, but he brushed it off. Then one night, as Aaliyah slept in the next room, she asked him, "Are you planning to leave?" He looked at her, the woman who taught him to feel again, and said, "No. I'm planning to fight." Lena didn't stop him. She only asked one thing. "Don't come back unless you're still the man I love." He left 2 days later. With a new identity, Daniel re-entered the world that had crucified him. He played the game again, only this time not for profit, but for justice. He met with old contacts, followed leads, wore a wire. The work was dangerous. He was threatened more than once. He came face to face with Lucas at an exclusive club in Geneva. The man laughed in his face, called him a ghost. But Daniel had learned something since he fell. Ghosts don't fear death. They haunt. It took months. Sweat, blood, betrayals. He got what they needed: evidence, recordings, insider trades. Lucas was arrested live on Bloomberg TV. The firm released the tapes. Public opinion shifted. The courts reviewed Daniel's case. Eventually, the charges were dropped. He didn't get the company back. The money was gone. But his name was clean again. Still, he didn't smile until he saw her. He returned to that dusty truck, bruised, thinner, older. Aaliyah screamed first when she saw him. Then Lena came out, her hair tied back, her eyes unreadable. She didn't say a word. He knelt. "I don't have riches," he said. "I don't have power, but I have a soul again, and it belongs to you." Lena didn't cry. She didn't kiss him. She just opened her arms, and he walked into them. The story wasn't over. But this time they would write it together. The quiet hum of the late summer wind pressed through the half-open window, brushing against her skin like whispered memories. Lena lay in bed, the sheets tangled around her legs, her hair fanned across the pillow, and her breath slow, heavy with everything unsaid. She heard the soft click of the bathroom door and then his footsteps. Bare, hesitant, crossing the wooden floor toward her. Daniel stood there, shirtless, scars now faded but visible like echoes of the war he'd walked through to come back to her. His eyes were no longer hollow. They burned again. Not with pain, but with purpose. And love. She reached for him without a word. He climbed into bed beside her, wrapping his arm around her waist, pulling her into his chest like she was the only thing that ever made sense. Their bodies found each other the way lost souls do, slowly, reverently. He kissed her shoulder, her neck, her lips, not with urgency, but with hunger born from months of silence, longing, fear, and the kind of love that only suffering could sharpen. "I thought I'd lost you," she whispered. "You were the only thing I never lost." He breathed, his voice breaking against her mouth. Their clothes became memories on the floor. The weight of the past slipped off their bodies like a second skin. He moved above her, not with dominance but devotion, as if every inch of her was sacred. She pulled him closer, her hands in his hair, her legs around his waist, kneading him deep, closer than skin, closer than breath. The way he entered her was both gentle and hard, a push against pain, a surrender to something that had waited too long. She gasped, not from surprise but relief, because she felt whole again. He made love to her like it was a promise. They moved together, slow and wild, rhythm pulsing like thunder beneath skin. Moans melted into kisses. fingernails into backs, sweat between soles. It was more than sex. It was resurrection. A man who lost everything finding the only thing that mattered. A woman who had only known pain, finally being worshipped in a way that healed her instead of hurt her. After they lay tangled in silence, hearts beating in sync. "You don't owe me anything," she said softly, brushing her fingers across his chest. "I owe you everything," he answered, "but I want to build something new with you, for you, with every breath I've got left." She smiled then, not a soft smile, a powerful one, like a survivor who's finally free. They moved into a small home on the outskirts of town. It wasn't big, it wasn't grand, but it was theirs. Daniel started a foundation to help rebuild lives ruined by corporate betrayal. Lena expanded her food truck into a full diner. Aaliyah started calling him Dad. Every now and then, he'd wake in the middle of the night, haunted by everything he lost. But then he'd turn and see her, Lena, his fire, his faith. And he'd hold her tighter, remind himself that sometimes, after losing everything, you don't just find yourself, you find something better. Something real, something worth every scar. And when the world forgot his name again, she never did.